The Battle of Baku. Welcome to your Formula One Azerbaijan Grand Prix preview show. So we're going to be talking about who do we think is going to be the driver of the day, who do we think is going to be the dipstick of the day, and of course, which teams and drivers will be bringing the drama, the action, and the points. This is F1 Grandstand. I'm Tony Craig, and if you are an F1 fan, of course, you're in the right place. Hit the subscribe button now and the bell button and join the community and get involved. So let's get into it. The Battle of Baku. Hello to everyone who's in the chat. Thank you for joining me. This is your Azerbaijan preview show. So the Baku city circuit. It's 6 kilometers long. It's 51 laps. It's got narrow streets, unforgiving walls, and I do love a street circuit. Now, the Baku city circuit is one of a growing number of street tracks on the Formula One schedule. As well, it is located in the centre of Baku besides the Caspian Sea, with Formula One cars flying past Government House and into the old city. Now, this track is also amongst F1's longest circuits. The layout of the Baku city circuit ensures battles like Bottas and Stroll's over P2 at the 2017 Azerbaijan GP are possible in Formula One. Now, Bottas passed Stroll just meters before the checkered flag, but Stroll did become one of F1's youngest podium finishers at 18 years old at this circuit. The first and final sectors of the circuit comprise of long straights to aid overtaking, while the middle of the lap is a tricky route in the old city. Overtakes are near on impossible, beyond the exceptional. Through the middle sector of the Baku city circuit, Formula One cars generally run in a single file through the old city as the track runs past the Maiden Tower. That's a 12th century monument. Very nice. The track narrows to just 7.6 meters, 25 feet wide, as it shoots uphill past the Maiden Tower and the Palace of the, I'm going to try and say this right, the Shavan Shahs. It was at this point of the Baku city circuit where Charles Leclerc crashed his Ferrari during qualifying in 2017. And that was when he had that famous vent on the radio saying, "I'm stupid," over the team's radio. Now, guess what? Guess who's won here more times than anybody? Sergio Perez has won here more times than any other driver, with 2 wins in 2021 and 2023 for Red Bull. And last year's winner was Oscar Piastri in the McLaren. Well, that does bring me nicely on to what I want to talk about first. Very Fast and the Furious, Gemma. Nice to have you in the chat. Yeah. Cars flying through the streets of Baku. We do love a street circuit, don't we, Gemma? We do, don't we? So, like I said, this brings me nicely onto what's going on at McLaren. So, let's talk about McLaren. Can they win the Constructors' title at Baku? Well, McLaren winning the Constructors' title in Baku would mark the earliest stage of a season that a title has been won by a constructor in F1 history. Red Bull set the current record by winning the 2023 title in round 16 of 22. That's 72.7% into the season, but the Azerbaijan GP is round 17 of this year's 24, which means it's 70.8% into the Grand Prix season. So McLaren head to Baku at the top of the standings with a 337-point lead over Ferrari, as well as a 357-point lead to Mercedes and a 379-point lead to Red Bull, with 346 points to play for after this weekend. So Piastri and Norris will rule out for the Ferrari for the Constructors' title by outscoring them by 9 points. So basically what I'm saying there is, if McLaren beat the field by 9 points, beat Ferrari by 9 points, they will win the Constructors' titles. Now, Mercedes could delay McLaren McLaren's win by outscoring Piastri and Norris by 12 points or more, while Red Bull would have to outscore the McLaren team by 34 points. Yet the only time Mercedes have outscored McLaren in 2025 was in the Canadian Grand Prix in round 10. So yeah, winning the title is possible, maybe even probable, but does it really matter if it's in Baku or Singapore? We all know McLaren are going to be winning the Constructors' Championship. It's nailed on, but it's a Drivers' Championship that is definitely more exciting, because in Baku it's very, very hard to overtake, so qualifying is paramount. Now, I think the race we won or lost between Oscar or Lando. Oscar has a 31-point lead over Norris, and Piastri is still my top tip for my world champion this season. And I do think he's going to beat Lando in Baku. But here's I'm going to jump in now for everyone in the chat. This is where I want you to tell me. We've got these two items on tonight's show. One is who driver of the day. I want you to predict who you think is going to be the driver of the day in Baku. Now, you can use whatever criteria you want for that. Do you think it's going to be somebody who qualifies pole, wins the race outright, or do you think it's somebody from one of the mid teams or lower teams who performs exceptionally well, maybe comes from the back of the grid, passes 10 cars? Tell me who you think is going to perform as a driver of the day. And also, in the chat, tell me who you think is going to be the dipstick of the day, the driver that you think is going to have a mare. I know this is awful, but, you know, who do you think's just not going to pull out of the bag? Who do you think is going to have a nightmare of a weekend this weekend? It's just not going to go well for. So I want to know your driver of the day prediction and your dipstick of the day prediction in the chat, because we will be coming to those in a moment in the show. So yes, get those in, please. I can see some of you already jumping in. Good. Keep them coming. I will come back to them. So, speaking about that, so going back to McLaren, how we've got Lando versus Oscar. I think Oscar's in an interesting position while we're talking about McLaren. He's obviously got a 34-point lead, I think, over Norris. He's going to be driving. He wants to protect that lead, and the worst thing that could happen for Piastri is a DNF. I did not finish situation. He doesn't want mechanical failure, and he certainly doesn't want to put that car on the wall and crash out. So he needs to bring the car home. That's for sure. But he's not going to just roll over and let Lando take points off him. So it comes down to qualifying. This track is so difficult to overtake on. I think whoever qualifies higher out of Lando and Piastri will take that place. And qualifying is interesting because we should mention that, you know, Charles Leclerc has qualified exceptionally well in Baku. He's had 4 pole positions. So it is going to be an interesting qualifying situation. But between the two McLaren drivers, whoever qualifies higher out of Lando and Oscar, I think will take the spoils. And I think it's going to be one of those two drivers that wins. But it's going to be decided. A lot of this is going to be decided in qualifying. That's my view. So yeah, if you got your driver of the day predictions coming in, and I will give you one clue about my driver of the day prediction. It's not a McLaren driver. It's not a McLaren driver. So I'm going to go and see what yours says. Eric says Max Verstappen, driver of the day. Are you saying that because Max's performance at Monza was exceptional? He put the car on pole, won the race by, 20 seconds. He did look exceptional. But think of the tracks, though. Think of the tracks. That was at Monza. Super low drag circuit. We're going to a street circuit, twisty, turny. It's not a high-speed circuit. Will that Red Bull perform well on that type of track? I don't know. Those twisty tracks, mid-speed tracks, really favour the McLaren car, but I might be wrong. But you're going with Max, Eric, as your driver of the day. What about you, Gemma? Who are you going for as your driver of the day? Any predictions? I'm going to tell you mine. So I have hinted at him. Gemma's going with Max as well. Okay. So Gemma and Eric both think Max Verstappen's going to be their driver of the day. Well, I disagree with both of you. This is my driver of the day. So my driver of the day prediction is actually Charles Leclerc, because I mentioned it before. Leclerc has scored 4 straight poles here without ever having a dominant car. His 2021 and 2023 efforts were particularly impressive. And it's fair to say that Charles Leclerc loves this circuit. And if we compare him to, say, Lewis Hamilton, this is one of Lewis's worst tracks. So I don't see Hamilton being even close to Leclerc in Baku. I don't think this is definitely not the race where we're going to see vintage Hamilton beating Leclerc. This is Leclerc's home. He's 4 poles. I mean, and the thing about this track is, even though we all know the Ferrari is is a bag of spanners compared to the McLaren, this circuit is so difficult to overtake on. If Leclerc does what he did in Hungary and put that Ferrari on pole, I mean, wow, anything could happen, because it's so hard to overtake on this circuit, and it is all about qualifying. And because Leclerc has been consistently good in a subpar Ferrari over 1 lap, he did get that impressive pole in Hungary. So I'm expecting Leclerc to qualify really well and achieve a podium finish. And dare I say it, it's his best chance of a win. Yeah, so that's why Leclerc is my driver of the day prediction. So Eric's saying Max can pass in the pit road. Well, pit strategy might come into it. 51 laps. I mean, you're talking about a one-stop strategy, aren't you, really? One-stop strategy. Safety cars could come into play. There are, we've seen a lot of DNFs on this circuit. Street circuits are unpredictable. It's very easy to put it in the wall. Very easy to put it in the wall. And even someone like Max, who's pushing and pushing and pushing, I mean, this is the type of circuit that Max could put it in the wall. Which actually, don't forget your dipstick of the day predictions. Put them in the chat, because I'll be coming to those in just a minute. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Pit strategy could definitely come into it. 100%. And it could literally change the order of things. But Leclerc has to be one of Leclerc's best chances of getting his highest point scoring Grand Prix. I mean, it's all about your qualifying performance, and he's qualified to put it on pole 4 times in the Ferrari that isn't a championship winning car, right? So yeah, I definitely think Leclerc's my driver of the day, which brings me on to who do I think will be the dipstick of the day. Who's going to bring the errors, the drama, and an all-round subpar performance? Who do you think, guys? Get in the chat. And if you are watching this on replay, I'm still interested. Tell me your predictions in the chat. I will get back to each and every one of you. So if you've got your driver of the day predictions, put them in the chat if you're watching on replay. And if you've got your dipstick of the day predictions, put them in the chat as well. I will be going through all those, and I will be answering all of you. So if you just joined us, welcome. Thanks for joining the show. We're very interactive tonight, as it is a preview show. We're just on the point where we're talking about who we think is going to be potential driver of the day, and who's going to be the dipstick of the day, who's going to have a nightmare, who we think's not going to pull it out of the bag. So who have we got? Gemma, Eric, who are you going with your dipstick? And I'll tell you mine. My dipstick of the day, I always feel like I'm picking on this guy. Always feels like I'm picking on him. Gemma's going for Yuki. Okay. You think Yuki's going to have a nightmare. See, see what Eric's got to say, and anyone else who's watching, jump in the chat and let me know who you think your dipstick of the day is. But Gemma, I have to say, you read my mind. My dipstick of the day is Yuki Tsunoda. Yeah, but I feel like I'm always picking on him. But here's my reasons behind why I'm predicting Yuki to have a bit of a mare. Well, I think this circuit is not going to be good for the Red Bull car. Like, Red Bull car works well, low downforce, long straights, fast circuits. We saw that in Monza, it did very well. Twisty circuits, street circuits, yeah, it just doesn't do good. And I also think that all the pressure that Yuki's under right now, Yuki is prone to a mistake or two. And I think that in this car, under this pressure, I think Yuki is going to put it in the wall. That's what I think. And let me talk about the added pressure that Yuki's under. This week, you might have seen my show where I said it was Yuki versus Lawson for 2026 seat. And that's because now Laurent Marquez is the team principal over at Red Bull. He's basically giving Yuki an opportunity that wasn't on the table. Just before Christian Horner left, Yuki had already been decided that Yuki was out. He didn't have a drive in the Red Bull next year. He was getting replaced by Isaac Hadjar, and he wasn't going to have a seat in the Racing Bulls because Liam Lawson was going to keep his seat, and Arvid Lindblad, they were going to promote from their F2 junior team into the Racing Bulls, which meant Yuki didn't have a seat, and that was in a leaked document. So what's changed? Well, this week, we believe that there's been conversations between Laurent Marquez with Yuki, and what he's basically said is that he favours Yuki Tsunoda over Liam Lawson at the moment for the Racing Bull seat. So yes, Yuki's going to lose his Red Bull seat, and Isaac Hadjar is going to get promoted to be driving alongside Max Verstappen. But Yuki looks like he's going to go back. At the moment, he's set to go back to the Racing Bulls car to drive alongside Arvid Lindblad, which means that Liam Lawson is in jeopardy. Excuse me. I'm just getting over man flu. But the actual situation is they're in a shootout. Lawson and Yuki are fighting it out till the end of this season to see who will win that Racing Bulls seat for 2026. Yuki's happy to go back to Racing Bulls. He's not been comfortable in that Red Bull seat. Liam Lawson is actually comfortable in that Racing Bull seat and done very, very well. They only gave him two races in the Red Bull car, and it was horrible. So yeah, those two are head to head. And I don't know whether Laurent Marquez is doing this because he wants Yuki to continue to perform to the end of the season and not just down tools, give up, and wants to give him some sort of hope. Or whether it's to try and raise Liam Lawson's performance. But Liam Lawson has been doing pretty well over the last 4 Grand Prix. He's not been far off Isaac Hadjar, to be honest. And he's definitely done better than Yuki Tsunoda. If you look at the driver's standings, Yuki Tsunoda in that Red Bull car has only scored 12 points, where Liam Lawson in the sister team, in the car that's not supposed to be as good, he's got 20 points. So that's the added pressure on Yuki for this weekend. He's got pressure of the immediate pressure of like trying to get closer to Max, and he has got quicker. Laurent Marquez has apparently given them equal cars. So Max, who had some of the upgraded bits on his car that Yuki didn't have, well, Laurent Marquez has decided to balance out that situation and give Yuki a better car, which they should have done anyway. Those two drivers should not be driving around in different machinery. We know that. They should definitely be on an equal footing, but it seems to be that in the past under Horner, every number 2 Red Bull driver was only there to support Max Verstappen's goal of becoming world champion, and they tested all sorts of different things out, from strategies to parts to just to facilitate Max getting the right setup for his car, which is obviously an awful situation to be in if you're the number 2 driver. But anyway, so they're trying to. I think that Laurent Marquez has balanced that out. So Yuki's got a fair crack at the whip. He's got to the end of this season. What's that? 8 races left to show that he can take that Racing Bull seat off Liam Lawson. So that is what's going on. But the reason why Yuki's my dipstick of the day, I think, with all of that being said, that's a lot of pressure for Yuki, and I don't find that Yuki is good under pressure. And I think Eric has just said the same thing. I don't think Eric feels that Yuki's particularly good under pressure. Some drivers are great under pressure. You know, you get a better driver, better performance. But you know, I mean, but Michael Schumacher's one of those. He under pressure they're better. But Yuki Tsunoda, unfortunately, I think not. I think not. So that's why he's my dipstick of the day. But so Eric said that I think he thinks Yuki is good, but the pressure, the pressure he's under is immense. I'm not saying Yuki is not a quick driver or a good driver. Is he good enough for Formula One? Is there some politicking going on, right? Because he's Japanese and because we want the Japanese fan base and want the Japanese manufacturers like Honda to be involved in the sport. Maybe new Japanese manufacturers coming into the sport. You know, it's having a Japanese driver on the grid is political as well, right? It is political, and I'm not a big fan of people getting drives for political reasons. Eric thinks Yuki ends up at Aston Martin. Well, is that because of the Honda connection? Because Honda are providing them with engines? Yeah, of course. See, Honda really like him, Eric, because he's the best of what they've got. Who's the next Japanese driver coming through? Because they'll like him as well. It's, you know, they need. It is political. It's the same way Cadillac would want an American driver driving. You know, they want to win a world championship with an American driver. Like, there's a lot of patriotism, isn't there? It happens. So, but I do think the Yuki situation. I think he's been quite lucky to keep his drive in F1 for as long as he's had it, and that was because of the Honda connection. I do. So James Allen says, good point, mate. The burden of expectation is huge, but it's a mental game, right? Yeah, you're absolutely right. F1 isn't just about being quick. It's about being mentally robust. I mean, you could argue, see, when I talk about my dipstick of the day prediction, I'm saying Yuki for all these reasons, but you know, it was very close. I nearly chose Kimi Antonelli. Reason being, same thing. We're talking about the mental game, and we're talking about the weight of expectation on you as a driver, and the facts that your teammate is consistently quicker than you. Like George Russell is consistently quicker than Kimi Antonelli, but Kimi Antonelli was nearly my prediction for dipstick of the day. Not because I don't like him, or not because I don't think he's a talent, but because the pressure he's under, and because Toto Wolff, after the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, turned around and said Kimi Antonelli's performance was underwhelming. I mean, that's a change of tone from Wolff talking about Antonelli. It's basically telling Kimi Antonelli you've got to do better. So we're going to see, is Kimi Antonelli going to respond to that public pressure? That it's really a bit of a berating from your boss, isn't it? Publicly saying Kimi Antonelli was underwhelming for a young driver. And he has been underwhelming. He hasn't been good enough. But for that to be said publicly, how is Kimi Antonelli going to react to that in Baku? I mean, we're going to find out. Is he going to crumble? So it was a very close call for my dipstick of the day between Yuki and Kimi Antonelli. But yeah, we're going back to Eric's point. Do I think Yuki's going to end up at Aston Martin eventually? I think there's a possibility, but he'd only be replacing. But then you'd have Lance Stroll's not going anywhere, is he? So that means a replacement for Fernando Alonso in an Adrian Newey car. Does Adrian Newey like Yuki Tsunoda? Not sure. I'm not sure. I know Adrian Newey he likes fast drivers. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. So yeah, it's an interesting one. This Battle of Baku is going to be interesting. And a quick mention for Hamilton, because Lewis Hamilton has really improved over the last few races. He's still nowhere near where he needs to be. But I think Baku is going to be a challenge for him. And again, he was another candidate for Dipstick of the Day. I don't like to say it, but because I think Baku is a banana skin for Lewis Hamilton. He's not done very well. And because his main goal is to try and get on par or beat his teammate, Charles Leclerc, well, Baku is really a specialist track for Charles Leclerc. 4 poles, very difficult to overtake. I think this could be Leclerc's chance to really his best Grand Prix of the season. And if it is, I think it shows Lewis Hamilton up a little bit. So that's my view on Hamilton for this Grand Prix. I think he'll score points. I think he'll finish the race. I think he'll do okay. I think he'll qualify okay. Top 5 for Lewis is my prediction. But he was close to being Dipstick of the Day. Right, I'm going to go to the chat. So we're talking. I think Stroll will be a dipstick, at least a dipstick. That's off Eric. Oh, yeah. Lance Stroll is everyone's choice for Dipstick of the Day. He's an easy target, but like Gemma said, wait until he's in a new car next year. And you've also got to remember, Lance Stroll, I mentioned it earlier in the show, he was one of the youngest F1 drivers ever to get a podium finish. And it was at Baku. He was 18 years old. And he finished P3, and he was almost P2. He lost P2 to Bottas just before the checkered flag. And he finished P3 at 18 years old, Lance Stroll. So, you got to consider that Lance Stroll might do all right at this track. Aston Martin have improved. So that's why Lance Stroll was not in my prediction for Dipstick of the Day, because Lance Stroll, actually, it's a good circuit for him. He's got good memories. Like I said, he's one of the youngest ever drivers to get a podium at 18 at this circuit. And he honestly, if you go back to that race, he was so close. Him and Bottas were fighting it out. And it was just before the checkered flag that Bottas got past him and nicked that P2. But still, Lance Stroll, he might surprise us all. Yeah, the Wooden. Stroll is not top tier. I agree with you. I agree, the Wooden. I do. Stroll is not top tier. I agree. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut. I know. I'm not saying Stroll's top tier. I'm saying that in an Adrian Newey car next year in 2026, you're not going to have to be top tier if you've got a Newey car. If you think about who's won world championships in a Newey car that perhaps shouldn't, you could argue Damon Hill, one of them. He was never the best. He won it against Senna, Prost, Mansell, Schumacher, and Damon Hill won a world championship. Look, I'm sorry, I like Damon Hill as a person, but there's no way he was in the god tier of those drivers. But he still won a world championship because he was in a Newey car. So you might just see the Wooden next year in an Adrian Newey car in 2026. Aston Martin might be that good that Lance Stroll starts winning some GPs. It could happen. I think that Aston Martin's going to be very special. I do. I've got the word on the street is that Newey has found some quite significant loopholes. Even though the FIA have come out, did you see that? The FIA came out this week saying that they're not going to allow people, no teams are going to be allowed to exploit the rules like they have done in the past, which was actually Adrian Newey's strong point. Was he was able to interpret the rules in a way where he didn't break the rules, but he was able to find the loophole, which meant he could build a car that was a couple of seconds a lap quicker than anyone else's. So what the FIA are saying is that they will shut that shit down. And what they also said is, if you're unsure about an interpretation of the rules, you can submit your request to the FIA, and the FIA will then issue the response to you as to whether it's legal or not. But they don't just send the response to you as Aston Martin, they send it to every manufacturer on the grid. So that means if you are unsure about a regulation, you develop something, some piece of aero or something for the car, and it's borderline as to whether you think it's an interpretation of the rules or whether it's a rule break. Everyone else on the grid then knows that, oh no, that's fine. And if they've not been developing that car in the same way, they all of a sudden jump on it, and now they start developing that in the same way. So manufacturers are saying, fuck off. There's no way I'm going to tell you what we're doing with our car for 2026. It's a completely new platform. And because it's a completely new platform, we are going to see between last place and first place, we could see three or 4 seconds a lap difference between last place and first place in that first season. It's when you get the biggest divergence between P1 and P22 in this case, because we've got 11 teams now in 2026. So it's what it is. So we are going to see some crazy differences between the cars. And then what happens is throughout that cycle of generation of F1 cars, they all copy each other, and eventually we end up with cars that are carbon copy apart from the livery. But yeah, so going back to what the Wooden said, yeah, we all might be very shocked to see Lance Stroll P1 on multiple GPs next season. Hey, maybe even world champion. That's what Lawrence wants, right? That's what he's playing in the money for. So yeah, Gemma, yeah, they move the goalpost because that's what the FIA do not want one team massively miles out in front. But you can't avoid it. Major regulation rule changes, these 5-year cycles, they happen. And first year is actually, for me, I like it. It's the most exciting part of it because that's when you get all the innovative, different designs, and the cars are the most different from each other in that first season. Yes, they all come closer together, but that first season is what I find fascinating because that's where you see all these amazing technological advancements in the sport. So I'm here for it. I want to see that. So the Wooden, that's not good, but with the budget cap, it makes it hard to change direction and develop new parts. I mean, look at McLaren's brake cooling. Exactly right. You know, you're right about that because how they're trying to manage the team spending with budget caps. Teams don't have endless amounts of money anymore when they get it wrong, do they? They go down a road of developing, because they're all developing their regenerative braking. They're all developing the hybrid systems that integrate into the car. It is simpler than this current generation with the kinetic exhaust gas capturing and conversion into electrical power, which is complicated. So going to I call it the Tesla effect. Going to the 50% electrification with the Tesla regenerative braking systems that there are. James is saying yawn. Exactly. I hate this electrification. Well, you should go and watch my video about V8s are coming back, baby, and they are. Toto Wolff let it slip. I did a video on it yesterday, and it's entitled V8s are back. Watch that video. It's only short, but it's very informative. I'm here for it. We might have to wait 5 years, but they're on the way back. But yeah, so you are right. The Wooden is the budget cap does change things, because in the 90s and 80s they just used to throw money at it. They could literally redesign a car. You know, you could go from a car with, when was it the 70s or 80s when the Tyrrell had the 6 wheels, and then they decided that, and it was brilliant, and then they decided you can't have that. You can't have your 6-wheeler. You had 4 wheels at the front steering. Ingenious ideas, but that's when we got real sort of outside the box thinking. And we'd end up with the most crazy car designs, and I'm here for it. So I'm looking forward to the car designs next year. I'm hoping to see some differences between the cars on the grid. I'm hoping to see some different ways of managing grip. The tires are smaller, tires are thinner, less aero. We've got the active aero, so grip is going to be a thing. How they manage that with the suspension and how they it's going to, because we're getting rid of the ground effect, the suspension's going to have to be more compliant, because the only way to make those ground effect era cars work was because the suspension had to literally be like a block of granite, like no movement at all. But now the cars are going to need to ride the curbs. There's going to be some movement. Active aero is going to play a part in that, the front and rear wing. So there's a lot that is going to change on the cars, which I am here for from an engineering point of view. I'm just not here for the electrification. I mean, seriously, you can do one with your electrification, and I just want it removed. I want it gone out of F1. I don't think we need it. I think Toto Wolff said it right. If you watch my V8 video, V8s are back. He said it right. The consensus is V8s and naturally aspirated, and that's what we're here for. We want naturally aspirated V8s screaming at 15,000 RPM, don't we? That's what we want. We don't want fucking electrification. Nobody wants it. James Allen in the chat says, I know a guy actually took a 6-figure job to be the head of Williams telemetry, and the FIA changed the regs and he was jobless between seasons. Exactly, James. Like, you know, changing the regulations puts people out of work, you know. But we'll see it. We'll see. We will. Yeah, Eric, 20,000 RPM. Well, yeah, I'm here for it. I want to hear them screaming V8s. I'm here for it. 15,000, 20,000. Oh, glorious. Let's have it. And naturally aspirated, Eric, as well. Linear power. Oh, love it. I'm definitely here for it. I'm over turbochargers as well, to be honest. I've never really been a massive fan of the turbochargers. But there you go. Give me a naturally aspirated engine anytime. James said, yeah, so he lost his job. So scuppered your chances of free tickets, was thoroughly depressed. Yeah, exactly. We all like to have someone in the F1 paddock where we can sometimes get the odd squeeze, where we maybe get a free ticket or two. The Wankel motor, Eric. The Wankel. Quad rotor Wankel. Well, I'm here for it. If someone can build it, maybe they will. Maybe they will. But yeah, the main thing for me is the way forward for F1 is to roll backwards, I think. Rewind out this electrification. Give the fans that emotive feeling. James Allen, tell that to Koenigsegg. Yeah. Yeah. Yo, wouldn't you love to see them in F1? The Mazda 787B. Yeah, the Wankel. Thing is, though, if anything went wrong with that engine, it was a freaking nightmare to fix. You couldn't get parts for it. Because the Mazda RX-7, which was a great car, by the way, until the engine, like, I had a problem with the engine. Not good. But I used to love those cars, to be fair. Yeah, and the solenoid-driven valve train is amazing. I agree, but that's the one that hasn't got any gears though? I want gears. I don't want to be driving like one gear. I need some gears. Talking about Koenig. Well, I'd love to see Koenigsegg in F1, wouldn't you? Can you imagine what he'd come up with? Because that guy's a proper engineer. Could you imagine what sort of car he'd put on the grid? It would be something remarkable. Plus, I think they definitely know carbon fibre exceptionally well. Yeah, I'd love to see Koenigsegg in F1. Yeah, James Allen talking about the RX-7. Not really F1 chat, but yeah, the RX-7 took a bit of a thrashing, but it wasn't reliable. They'd smash it in the Koenigsegg. Clarkson got banned, and then Gemma's in the chat. Clarkson got banned from the motor show for telling everyone to urinate in the glove box of a Mazda. Oh, Jeremy Clarkson, can we get him on the show? I'd love to chat to him about F1. Anything to do with cars, to be fair. I love Clarkson. You ever watch Clarkson's Farm? It's freaking brilliant. Anything. I just like watching Clarkson on the telly. I just think he's great. I think he's great. I think he's just great. Very funny. Urinate in the glove box of a Mazda. Perfect. Thanks, guys. Yeah. So those are my predictions. I didn't tell you who I think's going to win. Sorry, my top 1, 2, and 3. So this are my predictions. I'm going to go with Piastri first. I'm going to go with Charles Leclerc P2. And I'm going to go with Lando Norris P3. That's my podium for Baku. That is my podium. Oscar Piastri P1. Charles Leclerc P2. Lando Norris P3. And if anyone's interested in P4, I'm going to say Max Verstappen, P5, Lewis Hamilton, P6, George Russell. Off the top of my head, those are my predictions. Oh, James Allen says Alonso. Yeah, maybe I should. Alonso's definitely going to score points. He was very unlucky in Italy. He was going well. He was definitely on for a point scoring performance. It was due to a very unlucky situation where some gravel from Max Verstappen got kicked up in the first couple of laps, hit his suspension, damaged the carbon fibre in his suspension, and then it just got shaken when he was going over the riding the curbs. The damage was already done, and then just over time, over a short space of time, the suspension failed. But it was the gravel that caused the damage. I don't know if I like the idea of that. If gravel can cause damage to my suspension, what happens if it fails when I'm doing 200 miles an hour heading down a street circuit where there are walls either side of me? I'm not sure that's the time I want a suspension failure due to a little bit of gravel. But that's just me. That's the risk in Formula One, I suppose. Yeah, so Alonso I think is going to do pretty well. But yeah, those are my predictions. I've seen your predictions. We've had our driver of the day. We've had our dipstick of the day. It's been a lot of fun tonight. Yeah, that's it. Join me tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching F1 Grandstand. Please like, comment, join the community, subscribe, and hit the bell so you keep up to date. It makes a massive difference to the success of the channel. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you. I will see you tomorrow. Ta-ta.